Welcome back to the Political Asylum with me, Jonathan Gullis, sitting in for the great Kevin O'Sullivan on Talk, the home of common sense. And I'm delighted to be joined by my next guest. His name is Councillor Carl Cashman. He is a Lib Dem councillor on Liverpool City Council. He is also the group leader for the Lib Dems on that city council, and I personally think he's a future star of the Liberal Democrat movement, and I love seeing him speak, and I'm probably just giving him the kiss of death on his political career, but hopefully not. But Carl, delighted to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you for those kind words. And can I just say before we start, congratulations. I think I've seen that you became mayor of your local town, which, you know, quite a lot of people don't kind of look up local government, but that's a big kind of responsibility, and well done to you for doing that. I hope you do a good job over the course of the next year.
No, thank you so much, and I'm delighted that one of the charities I'll be supporting is called the Tri Services, which looks after veterans, and they have Operation R&R in Harrisey Head, and we're going to be doing lots there to try and raise money to help them get the equipment to get those veterans. And I know that you're very passionate about similar causes too. Look, Carl, I saw a very moving video yesterday posted on your social media. Of course, you are in Liverpool, and we can't start by not talking about the dreadful scenes we saw last night. And I believe you're a Liverpool fan. You were actually in the city centre, I think, to join others in celebrating the 20th top league title, and then obviously the horror that then unfolded. Obviously, a 53-year-old white British male from the Merseyside area has been arrested. It is believed that that individual was on drugs whilst behind the vehicle, and has also been arrested on dangerous driving and attempted murder at this moment in time. And there is not any evidence, nor is there any investigation underway for anything untoward like terrorism or such like that. But I thought I would just come to you for your thoughts and your reflections on what was meant to be a joyous day and then became a very dark day, and how the city is healing today.
Yeah, well, I think it's a perfect place to start, really. And I mean, I wasn't in the city centre. Actually, yesterday I was at the first part of the parade, which was Queen's Drive, Wavertree. And, you know, from what I seen there, the police were managing the crowd really well. Everyone was as well behaved as you can expect at a parade where you're celebrating, as you say, the first Premier League title that the city is actually seeing, because, you know, as people will know, the last one was during COVID, so we couldn't celebrate it. So there was people who were lining the streets from Queen's Drive, Wavertree, right up to the city centre. And initially, I think we had some figures around the 30,000 mark for people that were going to line the streets. I think it was more near 1 million people. There was people from inside the city, outside the city, absolutely everywhere, and it was fantastic. Obviously, kind of to go from that elation to the devastation after hearing what had happened was awful. And for me, it was particularly bad because I was still out in a pub with my dad, and I kind of keep going back to this in my head that, you know, the video that I put on my Instagram before the video, you know, talking about the devastating event, was a video of me and my dad singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" in a pub. And I think just to kind of go from that to then kind of talking about this is devastating and what's happened in the city just exemplifies you know, the moods. I think I seen someone say today that kind of the mood went from up here to right down here. And, you know, the people of this city, and, you know, if you've ever been here, Jonathan, and ever kind of met people from Liverpool, which I'm sure you have, you'll know that the best people and the kindest people in the world. And what's happened since those events has just been fantastic. You know, people from Liverpool offering support, offering accommodation, offering transport to people from within and outside of the city. I think that's kind of the key takeaway for me after the events of last night.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Carl, and thank you for your words yesterday when you were asking for calm and allowing the police the space to do what they need to do. And Liverpool is a beautiful city. In fact, after Stoke-on-Trent, it's the second favourite city that I've been. In fact, it's where I took my wife after we got engaged and had a lovely day out doing the Beatles tour, as well as enjoying a nice meal out. Even though my politics might not always be welcome in the city of Liverpool, I've always found the people to be very, very hospitable and very friendly, and the regeneration has been fantastic around the docks as well. So our thoughts thoughts and our prayers go out to you and to the City of Liverpool here from Talk and News UK, and obviously to the victims most importantly, and hoping and wishing them all a speedy recovery. Now, if you don't mind, Carl, if I pivot to politics, which I know is quite a tough one to pivot to, but Nigel Farage has come out saying that he would scrap the two-child benefit cap. I believe the Liberal Democrats nationally but agree with this. Is it an odd time for you as a Lib Dem to be agreeing with Nigel Farage and Reform UK?
I suppose it is, because I've always positioned us as the opposite to Reform, and I've got kind of maybe a little bit of a different feeling about this to perhaps some in my party, and maybe kind of on the progressive wing of politics, to be honest. I personally think that Labour and Keir Starmer have cooked up a perfect atmosphere for reform. I think their rise is down to the fact that people are just looking for some authenticity, because unfortunately in today's politics, we're lacking authenticity, particularly from robot Labour politicians. And unfortunately, people have assigned that authenticity to Nigel Farage. And, I'll admit that while he speaks his mind, he's also a DIVVY that speaks his mind. And I think that if politicians, my own party, and I would include myself as someone who likes to try and, speak common sense and kind of give liberal common sense perspective, if politicians start to actually be a bit more authentic and a bit more honest with people, I think you would see a lot less from the likes of Nigel Farage. And people in my city, Jonathan, people in this country as well, they want people to be honest. And I don't think Labour understand that. And I think if they continue to kind of disregard that, they'll be wiped out on the right by Reform, and they'll be wiped out on the left by the Liberal Democrats.
Well, I was about to say, I'm interested in, obviously, Liverpool is always associated with being a hotbed of Labour support, but obviously the Liberal Democrats under your leadership have made gains in the Liverpool City Council elections in recent times. Do you fear Reform UK sweeping into Liverpool? Could they undo Labour and yourselves, or do you think there will be, or are you going to position yourself as the true opposition to Reform, where you feel Labour maybe locally and nationally has vacated the field?
Yeah, I think anyone who knows this city will know that there is a north-south divide in the city, and as we, the Liberal Democrats, set out our policy platform, that's one of the things that we're going to try and bridge the gap between. We need to win in the north of the city, not only because the north of the city deserve councillors that work hard for them, but because, I think there was a statistic that if you get the bus from a southern part of the city to a northern part of the city, there's a certain road that you go down where your life expectancy drops by about 10 to 20 years. And I just think that is a disgusting statistic in this day and age. So that needs to be addressed, and that's what the Liberal Democrats want to address. I think because the north of the city has been left for so long by the Labour Party, that you might end up with the likes of Reform creeping in there. So you could end up with a kind of pincer movement of Reform in the north of the city, the Liberal Democrats in the south, parts of the north and parts of the centre of the city. And then Labour could be stuck in between that pincer movement. And, some people try and this is kind of from the whole kind of, progressive alliance type of thinking, Jonathan. People think, you're impure if you're on the left, and you want Labour to be decimated by someone. And I just think, I despise the politics of Reform, but I know what the Labour Party is like in this city. I know what the Labour Party is like in Merseyside. And my job as a Liberal, and my job as a Liberal Democrat, is to stop Reform, but it's also to replace the Labour Party in Liverpool.
Out of interest, you must be given heart by the fact that now 2 opinion polls have said that Liberal Democrats are ahead of the Conservatives, now in 3rd place. And actually this poll today says that Ed Davey is more popular than Nigel Farage. 41% of voters would say they want Ed Davey, or only 27% said they would want Nigel Farage. And in fact, Ed Davey's only 2 points behind Sir Keir Starmer. So do you think it's easy for us in the media, easy for us in Westminster to get caught up in the reform bubble? But actually, the Lib Dems made 150 gains in the council elections. I think now you have more councillors than the Conservative Party in England. You're now polling above or level with the Conservatives in many national opinion polls. And Ed Davey seemingly is the only one who actually on a popularity rating is able to go toe-to-toe with Sir Keir Starmer. Do you think that actually more attention needs to be given to the Liberal Democrats, and the Liberal Democrats are doing a good job of slowly but surely coming up through the centre ground in order to bring the country together and potentially take power?
Yeah, I think you're sounding more and more like a Liberal Democrat the more I speak to you, Jonathan. I think you should have a think about defecting. But I just think I always see myself as a Liberal, someone who sees common sense. And I think like someone like yourself and other people around the country that believe in, the centre ground, like the sensible position in politics, also think that. And I do think that sometimes that gets blocked out by the media because they want to see, these big statements and these kind of controversial moments. And Nigel Farage is happy to give those moments. But I think the media kind of needs to have a long think about what they're doing here. Particularly, I mean, I was in an interview with GB News today, and we were meant to do the interview at one point. They were at Nigel Farage's live press conference, so we said, I'll come back, it's fine, I need to do Sky News. And when I came back, we did a pre-record because they were still speaking about Farage. And I ended up in the pre-record. It was a bit cheeky of me, but I said, and Nigel Farage, the fact that he's kind of the leader of these people that froth at the mouth, at the fact that this person who was maybe in the car in Liverpool might have been a Muslim or someone of a different ethnicity. I think it's disgusting that the likes of GB News want to concentrate on people like that. And I think the Liberal Democrats and other kinds of progressive parties need to step up, as I think we have done. But the media needs to play a fair bat. And I think quite often they're not playing that fair bat. And I think they've got a lot to answer for if we end up with Nigel Farage in number 10.
And how would you... have you got elections next year, Carl, finally? Sorry, is it Liverpool City Council elections next year or in the future?
No. 2027.
2027.
So I've got 2 years.
And what do you think overall, just finally, of this Labour government? They've come in, and I'm sure that there are many people in Merseyside shocked that a Labour government came in, axed winter fuel payments for pensioners, introduced a family farm tax for farmers that will supply food, some of whom in Merseyside might work in the agricultural sector. Obviously, hike taxes on businesses and business owners who are also working people to the tune of 25 billion, but have kept the two-child cap benefit and now, some would argue, only looking at reversing it in order to try and save their own skin. Yet at the same time, they have been willing to have lots of jet setting all over the world. Keir Starmer seems to spend more time abroad than he does in the UK in the eyes of many people. Rachel Reeves has had the freebies. Bridget Phillipson had 14,000 for a birthday party funded by a donor too. The tickets galore to events as well. Does this, for Liverpoolians and for people of Merseyside, who would be seen as the home for Labour, as you say, that would be the assumption. Do you think that this Labour Party could be anything further from what people expect it to be?
They couldn't be further. And if you speak to anyone on the streets of Liverpool now, they'll tell you exactly that. I mean, knocking on doors recently here, there's just a massive backlash against the Labour government. And as you say, the fact that they want to reverse some of these really, really unpopular policies, or, they haven't even committed to it yet, but they might reverse some of them. I think it's purely because they're frightened of, the opposition parties kind of coming in and taking some of their ground. And I think that's an awful way to do politics. You shouldn't do politics because you're afraid of something. You should do politics because you believe in something and because you're hopeful about something. And this Labour government just has been anything but that. And I go back to the point that they've been really, really inauthentic. And I think a moment for me when I realised that they're really in trouble in Liverpool and elsewhere was a guy in West Derby reached out to me and one of our campaigners, Phil, and he's disabled in a wheelchair. And initially, it was one of our kind of local campaigns, as the Lib Dems do, about some pavement parking and how it makes it difficult for people in wheelchairs. But then also obviously mentioned about Labour's disability cuts. And he said he's been a Labour voter all his life. 50 odd years. He said he'll never vote for them again. They're not acting like a Labour government. They're not acting like a progressive political party. I just think they've got no moral compass in government at the moment, and it's a real shame because I think people were crying out for a little bit of change.
Well, look, Carl, thank you so much for joining us today. Councillor Carl Cashman, Liberal Democrat on Liverpool City Council and the leader of the Liberal Democrats. What do you think? We've had a Lib Dem voice, we've had a Conservative voice, and we've had a Reform voice.